Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our review discussion for Star Wars Battlefront. I'm Dan Stapleton. This is Mitch Dyer.
Hello.
Brian Altano.
Hello.
Brian Albert.
Hello. Everything's very like flat and horizontal and slow, and there are like 10 guns, but aside from a few that are like super close.
I personally find that like accessibility to be a good thing for me. Yeah, I actually like I appreciate the fact that it's not you have your left hand, your right hand, and your center card, right? And you can customize that to a degree, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward, and it just feels like this is the couple of things.
Spill that
I
out.
think I see a lot of people talking about the problems of this game being like mechanical depth being missing, and that might come back to what Brian's talking about with weapons not really feeling distinct enough. It might come down to there are a limited number of vehicles. There are a limited number of ways to interact with an stuff there than you kind of engage with moment to moment in multiplayer. And I think that a lot of the depth in multiplayer ends up buried beneath the unlock system, which just takes a lot of investment. To this expecting a Battlefield sort of game where you've got all these different kinds of aerial vehicles you can get into at any time, and different ground vehicles that can counter them more effectively than a turbo laser or something. But for me, I'm with you guys. I think that the stuff that's there, the tools that are available, and then the items that you can bring into the battle gives the game depth. And I don't know that it not being as complex as something like Battlefield or Call of Duty is necessarily a bad thing.
Personally, I think adding too much complexity to it would take away from the fun that is being like Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think adding too much stuff to it would make it feel less like a pure Star Wars run and gun experience, which is kind of what I'm there for.
Yep.
I Online is the one I use as an example for this a lot, where everyone's supposed to be in Starfleet, but everyone's wearing a completely the same weapons. There's not a big variety. I think if they made up a bunch of new stuff just to give it that kind of the depth that we see in other games, I think that would take away from the authentic feel of it. So it definitely is a trade-off. But I think that personally, for me, I think that the Star Wars atmosphere that they gain by keeping it simple makes it appealing.
I totally agree. I think that authenticity to a fake world. Watching explosions happen look like explosions from a 70s movie, and they could have made them look like video game explosions. They don't. Like, Star Wars isn't a sniper rifle, long con, sort of held at battle kind of thing. It is very pew, pew, pew. And people have been using that sound effect to describe this game negatively. That's what I came
That's why
here
I
for.
love it.
You know, like, there aren't, like, the only characters in Star Wars with sniper rifles are Tusken Raiders, and they shoot pod racers because they're
shoot small
and
children.
that bounty hunter in the episodes we shall not discuss.
Yes.
But I think one potential major drawback of this is that this game probably won't have a super long lifetime, partially because it does lean so heavily on that atmosphere that's kind of a photorealistic style, and that never ages well. Like a few years down the line, once kind of the shine wears off of its graphics and things are out there that look a lot better.
Pass goes on, that's how long my group of friends is going to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best thing for me about this is I finally have a shooter that all of my friends are playing because of that accessibility, because of whatever perceived lack of depth there is. If that's the sacrifice that I need to make to have a party of 8 having a really good time playing a Star Wars shooter, I will take that every day.
All right, well, that's part 3 of our review discussion for Star Wars Battlefront. Please join us for much more. Thanks, Brian, Mitch, and Brian.
Thanks, Dan.